Hey Star Wars fans, welcome to the Toy Trooper episode number 2. My name is Gary, and this is a place to share information related to vintage Star Wars collecting. Now, the topic of this episode is the Star Wars TIE Fighter. Now, the TIE Fighter is one of the original 3 vehicles that was featured on the card backs of the 12-back action figures. It's one of the iconic spaceships in all the Star Wars film and toy universe. Now, they've made many variations of the TIE Fighter over the years, but what we're going to look at today is where it all started, the 1978 Kenner TIE Fighter. Now, to find a loose example of a TIE Fighter, it's relatively common. However, there's usually always some degree of yellowing to the plastic. So, if you can find a really nice, clean, white, loose TIE Fighter, it's actually a really nice, affordable toy to pick up, and it looks great in any Star Wars collection. Alright, now what we're going to really focus on in this episode are boxed TIE Fighters. Specifically, new in box or new contents in box, or even factory sealed. Now, to find an original TIE Fighter in the Star Wars box, especially a really clean box, it's very difficult, and it's actually highly sought after in the vintage Star Wars collecting community. Now, the original TIE Fighter in the Star Wars box had multiple releases. And remember, we've talked about before, when they release a toy, the same toy in different packaging, whether it's an action figure on multiple card backs or a spaceship or a vehicle in different boxes, there can be a wide range of value depending on which release you're looking at. So it's important to learn what you're looking at in any given Star Wars deal. So I'm going to share with you some tips on how to identify which Star Wars box you're looking at. Okay? Alright, let's get started. Okay, now before we start, I just wanted to note that there is a special offer variant of the Star Wars TIE Fighter, and that one includes 2 action figures, Darth Vader and Stormtrooper. Now, that box can be identified by a large yellow, red, and black special offer sticker on the front of the box and one on the back of the box. There's really no print variations on the box itself, so the tips I'm going to share with you, they're going to work on that box as well. Okay, the first area we're going to look at is the nameplate. On the first release, you'll see TIE Fighter. Alright. Second release, TIE Fighter. The third release, Kenner changed it to Imperial TIE Fighter. So that's a definite identifier of the third release. Okay. Now the next area we're going to look at is just below the TIE Fighter, below the laser light. Now this area on the first release, it's just blank. It's just the blue of the box. On the second release, you'll see it now says mini action figures not included. And on the third release, it now just says action figures not included. Okay? Now we're going to take a look at the bottom of the box, where it talks about the contents. On the first release, says 1 TIE Fighter spaceship. And you'll see right below that, really small, in parentheses, that's where the first release listed action figure not included. Alright? And then, just to the right of the Kenner logo, you'll see it has the LP or long play emblem. Now on the second release, contents is 1 TIE Fighter spaceship. And you'll still see the LP emblem next to the Kenner logo. Now on the third release, the contents now is just 1 spaceship, and they've removed the LP or long play logo from next to the Kenner logo. Okay, now one last area we're going to look at is on the top of the box. Now this is the fun one. You'll see in the first release the contents 1 X-Wing fighter spaceship. Now, that's hard to believe it made it past quality control at Kenner, but it did. Obviously, a printing error, and a definite identifier, and a very unique variation on the very first Star Wars TIE Fighter release. Now, moving on to the second release, the contents now is one TIE Fighter spaceship. And then the third release, just one spaceship. Okay. Now, hopefully you guys can use those tips that I shared with you to make a more well-informed decision when you're collecting Star Wars TIE Fighters. All right, that does it for this episode of The Toy Trooper. Thanks everybody for watching.